The strange things that driving instructors get told by driving schools. So I'm really intrigued about this video. I'm expecting it to be total rubbish from the name, but I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised. Let's have a look what's going on. Going to share the best bits with you and see if I actually tell any of my learners to do these things.
Those areas are using the handbrake and getting extra or excessive blind spot checks.
Okay, so handbrakes and blind spots. Let's have a look.
It didn't matter if it was a hill or if she was stopped 2 seconds or 20 seconds. If she came to a junction, she was lashing up that handbrake.
Yes, I see this all the time and it drives me absolutely up the wall. I just want to bang my head against the frigging brick wall. Why? Because it's completely pointless. It's a waste of time. And we're not talking about at the beginning of your learning to drive journey, when you're starting out and everything is crap scary and you're focusing so much on trying to get the bite. We're talking about when you're getting test ready and every time you stop the car, you're putting the frigging handbrake on. And half the time this comes from people that have been self-taught by parents that are still pretty old school. I'm sorry, parents that are out there that have done this, but a lot has changed in the last 20 years. The times of doing things for the sake of doing them are long gone. And the other half do come from driving instructors, which you can only assume have been doing it a very, very long time and are just stuck in their ways of must put the handbrake on at every second possible. My question is, why? It's a complete waste of time. And do you think that learner is going to carry on doing that once they pass the test? Because if you look at any driver out there that's been driving for more than a few years, I haven't seen a single one putting the handbrake on constantly. So the answer is no. So you're teaching them a skill, in that case, for you, because you like seeing them do that. It makes you feel better. Is it essential? Clearly not. Instead, why not teach them a real life skill of, you've got a tool here, use it when you need to use it. And when do we need to use the handbrake? What's its actual aim? Well, its aim is to stop us rolling back into the car behind us or rolling down the hill. So if you're on a hill, use the handbrake. If you're stopping for a particularly long time, again, why not use the handbrake? And if you're wondering what a long time is, in my eyes, I'd say anything much over 10 seconds, why not have a relax, put the handbrake on, pop it in neutral, chill out for a bit. But I'm not talking about every single red light at all. There is no point, it's pointless.
First of all, it's not wrong to use the handbrake regularly or at every stop sign or...
No, I guess it's not wrong. They're not going to fail their test for doing it, but it's not a life skill. You're teaching them to do it because you like seeing them do it. It makes you feel better in the car when they do it. You're teaching them to be a little mini you, rather than to be their own individual driver on the road. And in fact, I say a little mini you, but I bet the people that teach this don't actually do it themselves.
This means judging each situation individually and not apply a rigid, one-size-fits-all solution because the driving instructor is either unable or unwilling to teach them the proper way to use the hand.
And this is where you've got to ask yourself, how's driving instructing changed in the last 10, 15 years? Driving instructors used to turn students into little mini-me's, how to drive just like me and how to pass your driving test. And then they pass the test and they just go and do their own random stuff anyway. And they have to do that because that's what was expected of them in the driving test exam, and that's why they changed it. But times have changed, and now times have changed, and the driving instructor's job is completely different. Instead, we're teaching students how to make the best judgment call in any given situation. And most importantly, we're trying to get them to do this without our help. And why? Because driving isn't black and white. It's well over 52 shades of grey. And now you're thinking, what the F is this guy on about? Every day you can drive on the same route to work, every single day, same road, same time, but never will that situation be exactly the same on that route on 2 days. Every single day you are going to have to change something, you are going to have to adjust for some new situation. So what's the point of this? The point is, if you're teaching a learner to just unconditionally pull the handbrake every single time you stop, you're not teaching them any judgment at all. They've no idea when actually it would be more dangerous to pull the handbrake. It would be far more sensible to continue rolling on here or just use the foot brake. Maybe pulling the handbrake in this situation is actually going to affect the flow of traffic. You're going to slow people down, you're going to slow yourself down. This is all in my driving course, by the way, joshadrivinginstructor.com, in the comments below. Everything you need to learn about the handbrake and everything else you need to learn how to drive the right way. There are plenty of ways to drive, but are you driving the right way?
See that I use the HALT acronym quite a lot. That's H-A-L-T, so you'd use the handbrake on the hill, H for hill.
I can see why driving instructors use acronyms. I can see why Dane uses acronyms. Me, I am not a big fan of acronyms most of the time. Don't get me wrong, there is a place and there is a time for them, but generally, No. And I'll tell you why. Acronyms can create rigidity in driving, and driving isn't rigid, it's a fluid subject. Everything changes constantly. So if you're so focused on this acronym in this given situation and it doesn't work, because sometimes it's not going to work because every situation is different, then you're going to be up Pooh's Creek without a paddle. And if you don't believe me, go and ask anyone that's been driving on the road for a couple of years. Ask them, do you use acronyms? And I can always guarantee everyone's going to say no. Why? Because acronyms don't work in every given situation. Or two, they've just stopped checking their mirrors. In which case, either way, the acronyms don't work, do they? And when I say they don't work, I mean they're not a life skill. You're using them as a learning tool to learn to drive, but by the time you should be getting to test ready, which is what we're talking about, you shouldn't need acronyms anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes I will get a student, and you know what, they're really struggling with junctions. They need a bit of structure to help them learn, and yes, boom, we're heading for an acronym. Let's get in there with the MSM routine. Let's get in there with a bit of MSPSL, whatever needs to help them get past that. Give them a bit of structure. I learn well with structure as well. But if they don't need it, then I'm not bothering. There's no point.
Some learners can be a little bit too fond of excessive blind spot checks. And the two areas that I notice they come up are when changing lanes and also at junctions and roundabouts.
Yes, this does happen. Learners looking just for the sake of looking because a driving instructor's told them to look, but not actually looking properly because they don't know what the hell they're looking for. And I'll tell you a nice, easy solution for this. I do this every single time because when I was learning to drive, I was one of those learners that was looking for the sake of learning because I didn't know what the hell I was looking for because my driving instructor didn't show me what the hell the blind spot was. Easiest way to show this is park up on a normal road, park up on the side of the road, get a passenger to stand out in the blind spot, stand in the mirror, walk backwards where another car would be, and you will see when they disappear in that mirror, that's your blind spot, and it's big. It's massive, it's well big enough for a decent sized car and a van as well. There is a huge gap there that you can't see unless you physically turn your head. And the only way to do that is to have a go yourself. And you can tell when these learners are doing it the robot way because they'll go like this. Boom, 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 boom. Oh. And that's fine to do at the beginning. When you're first learning to drive, that's normal. We take our time. There's a hell of a lot going on. But when we're getting to test, we should know it's a quick glance all the way around. It's a quick glance when we check the blind spot or a quick glance when we're doing a shoulder check. Trust your eyes. Think about when you're crossing the road. If you're walking across the road or jogging down a street, would you be sitting there looking each way constantly? Oh my God, how long should I look for? No, you'd have a quick glance, you trust your eyes, and you go, yeah, it's time to go. Or you get students that go the other way and they don't bother checking the blind spot at all because, again, they don't know what they're looking for. Easiest way to solve this, get in the blind spot, get someone standing in that blind spot, you will see. Because trust me, you want to check now rather than experience what happens if you don't check the blind spot. There's a car there, you change lanes and bad news for your car. Bad day. Call in mummy and daddy. Daddy, crash a car.
You don't really get the blind spot when changing lanes, at least not in the traditional sense of looking over the shoulder, like out there.
I completely and strongly disagree with this. There is 100% a blind spot when changing lanes, and yes, you should definitely be doing a 90-degree shoulder check. In my eyes, saying that you don't need to check the blind spot when changing lanes is utterly crazy. And I'll tell you exactly why. This happened to me last year. I'm going down the A34, I remember like it was yesterday. I'm going down an A34, dual carriageway, 2 lanes, I'm in the left lane. It's a bit slow, I want to overtake. So I check my central mirror, I check my right mirror, I pop my signal on, I'm just starting to go, and I think I'm going to do a little shoulder check. And sure enough, there's a friggin' Mini right here, right next to me. Did I absolutely calmly not change lanes? Yes, that's exactly what I did. No, I was really worried. I panicked. And I'll tell you why I panicked. Because I checked those mirrors and I know that there was nothing there. There was nothing there. So to actually nearly change and drive into the side of the car and see that there's a car there is like, whoa, I know how close I was to crashing my car right there, right then. And if I hadn't done that shoulder check there, it would have been a crash. I've also seen this on driving tests many a time. I remember how a driving examiner commented on how brilliantly William, a student that I was teaching to drive, did on his driving test. He was so unbelievably impressed because when he came down the slip road to join onto the dual carriageway, William did a shoulder check rather than a full checking right behind him. They don't like you checking behind them, absolutely right. Why? Because you're going 50 miles an hour, possibly ahead. A lot can change when you look over your shoulder. But should you still check there's not a car next to you like there was on William's driving test? Yes, 100%. If he hadn't done that, he would have failed his test and probably crash the car. Again, all of this is my online driving course. Everything you need to know about blind spots and how to drive the right way at joshthedrivinginstructor.com. What you're still doing here, have a look, click at the banner right there, and you've got everything you need, all for the price of one driving lesson.
There is absolutely no need to be turning around, looking over your shoulder here, the right shoulder, turning around, looking over the left shoulder here, and then going.
Who, in Donkey Kong's name, is telling people to check over their shoulders at junctions? I'm really hoping that's a joke, because it truly is a waste of time. And it's going to make you look like a right sausage. So shouldered blind spot checks are for high risk situations. So if you're parked up on the side of the road, you've got high risk of someone coming past you because you're parked. If you're changing lanes, again, high risk of someone coming past you. They're not for low risk of chances of someone overtaking. And who the hell would overtake you at a junction? Yes, a bike could approach, but you're going to see that in your mirrors. You don't need to check over your shoulders, and if you are checking over your shoulders, something's going to change on the main road. That's it. If you liked it, like the video. If you want to see more, subscribe. Don't forget to have a look at the course if you want to drive the right way. I am Josh, the driving instructor, and I'll see you soon. Boom!